Well, here we are. It is Friday, March 3rd, 2023. Winter's two-thirds of the way over as far as I'm concerned. And here we are. It's the weekly video. Every Friday we do these. We take a look and see what's been happening in the auction market, auctions that are coming up, some auctions that have gone by, what's been happening over on eBay, and sort of an overview of the Asian antique market in general. And we talk about things that are coming up that we liked particularly and that kind of thing. It's been an interesting week, and one of the things that we've noticed lately is that eBay seems to be getting suddenly a lot of listings, and we don't know why, but we're happy to see it because it was a real dry spell on there for a while. I'm not sure what's going on. But the market's always adjusting itself, so there we are. Other things that are going on the global pages, those of you that use those know that we have the all the upcoming sales at Christie's and Sotheby's posted off those pages with links. Some of the items are not active yet. They just have announcements for them because these are going to be live auctions. And the online auctions rather, and they don't become really visible until the bidding starts. So, but you can bookmark them and get ready for it. That's the one group of sales, and this is the Christie's page here with the Lally auction. There's some very good Japanese and Korean works of art coming up, and all kinds of things. It's going to be an interesting month. Plus, Doyle's has a sale coming, Bonham's has a sale coming, and then, of course, all the dealers in New York that will be there for this Asia Week thing will be selling their stuff as well. So if you're going to New York, make the rounds. Definitely make the rounds. Alrighty, and the catalogs that are available are up on the Bidamount in the reference section. Those of you that use it, a lot of you use it. It's amazing. We see the traffic going over there, so I guess a lot of people enjoy it. But it's in here in the catalogs and book section. And right now there are just a couple of catalogs up here because the auction houses are shying away from catalogs. Sotheby's in particular seems to have given up on them entirely, which I think is a mistake, but that's just my view. Any rate, a Goots sale is up there also. They have a couple of good sales coming up. I mentioned it before. It's an interesting auction, and they do a good job. So check those out as well. Now, over to what's been going on at eBay. There were some very good prices on eBay last week, and for a number of objects. We're going to start with this. This was from a seller, Antiques and Artifact, down in Bethesda, Maryland. Had this Kangxi blue and white censer. Actually, it's not a censer. It's a food pot because it's got the ring. You can see the holes for the ring handles. This was a pretty nice pot, I have to say. It brought a very, very strong price because it was clean. You can if you look at the way the foot was trimmed, the way the body was decorated, it had a couple of minor little blemishes on it, which the seller was careful to point out. But overall, this is a very satisfying piece of blue and white ware from the Kangxi period, and in the end, it did well. It brought $6,100. So there you go. All right, and that's a nice thing to see. And then there was this really nice large silk embroidery. This was a good one, probably late Qing from what I can see of it. Here's the entire panel with the opposing dragons opposite the pearl. This is a very elegant, very formal sort of setup. And it was probably a hanging to go over the front of an altar or table or something. Had multiple dragons on it, and the dragons were meticulously done. If you took the time to look at this thing, this was really beautifully done, beautiful quality silk, beautiful gold silk in particular. And the waves at the bottom and the crashing rocks are done, and they added these little speckles to the waves, like sea foam coming off of it. This was a very meticulously done piece. Really was. We liked it a lot. Boy, we were wondering what it would bring. Well, silk has been strong. The silk market has been very, very strong without a break now for 15 years or so, 16 years. A lot of these silks that you're seeing here, silk like this back in the 1980s, you could have bought in any antique shop in New England, I can tell you, probably for around $400 or $500. And suddenly in the 90s, these things started to spike and take off. And the same thing happened with robes. The robes that used to sell for $1,000 to $2,000 typically are now bringing, $7,000 and $8,000. And the prices seem to be rising. So we'll see. But this was a very, very nice example in very good condition. And it was, 3 feet by just a little... 3 feet by just a hair over 4 feet in width. So it was a good sized panel, but it brought a very nice price. And then over to this little, he called it, it's sort of a Thai market thing that's got the Empress Dowager palette on the front here with the dragon against that blue ground and the grisaille decoration, that black grisaille that was so popular. They called it Nonya Straits. I'm not sure quite why. I don't think it really is, but at any rate, this was a sort of a standard size one, and it sold for $490, which is fine. There was a much larger one last week that sold for about 5 times that, but this was a nice one too. And then over to this, the little bronze twin-handled vase dated as late Ming to Qing. I think this was a pretty good buy. This had a nice surface on it. It was early. There wasn't anything wrong with it. And I think somebody got a very, very good buy. I thought this would bring closer to $800 or $1,000. So if you're one of the guy that bought it or the gal that bought it, you got a really good buy, I think. These bronzes have been getting increasing interest. This pair was a little bit atypical in the way the handles are done, but the age is there. The age is there for it. And I think it just sort of slipped through, and somebody got a really good buy. And then over to this, the pair of reticulated rimmed rose mandarin, Famille Rose plates, under trays. These were made around 1780 or so. Very nicely done. They were from Room Tonic in Marblehead. I mentioned him before. He's a pretty good seller. He does a good job with his photographs and his listings. Really shows all the details, nice and clear. And there's no doubt about what it is you're bidding on. I like the way he does them a lot. And he includes the standard bottle of wine with their store name on it. That's sort of interesting. Any rate, these did well. They brought $796, which is perfectly fine. That's a good price for those. But it's a pair, and they're desirable. They were about 9 inches in diameter. Nice looking objects. And then over to this. I think this was a very good buy. This was a 18th century Rouge de Fur or golden red teapot. They dated it as I think they dated it as 19th. Oh no, they dated it as 18th to early 19th century, maybe being conservative. So he dated it to Qianlong, possibly Jiajing period, which is fair. Because people always argue about dating of objects. It's sort of a sport in the business. But this was a very attractive teapot. And the gilding on it was in excellent condition. The enameling, the little bit of red enameling was in good shape. The spout looked okay. The handle looked pretty good all the way around. There might have been a hairline in the handle. It's hard to tell from the pictures. It looks like it might have had a hairline, but I don't really see it. Overall, the piece was in good shape. And it went for just $291, which I think was a very, very good buy, because this is sort of an unusual teapot of its type and in good shape. So there you are. And then over to this. This was something from Stumptown, USA. He's a regular seller. He's out in Oregon. Was this very nice rose mandarin dish with the twin fish pattern going around the outside. And the twin fish is symbolic of marriage and pairs and couples staying together, that sort of thing. There's a lot of symbolism there. Beautiful, beautiful dish. And the enamels were in great condition. I don't see any wear on it. It was a very fine thing, and it did well. It brought $401. And the reason it brought $401, not all of these do, but this one did. If the enamels on these first half of the 19th, this plate was probably made around 1830 or 40 or so. And when the enamels are in great shape and the gilding is in great shape and there's no wear, it has a profound impact on value as far as auction markets go. So a plate like this with a bit of wear to it and some rubbing to the gilt probably would have sold for half that or less. But because it was a prime example, always think about that. It's not enough that just the patterns are similar. It also has a great deal to do with the quality of the enameling and the quality and condition of the gilding that's on there. Is it nice and fresh? Does it look like it did the day it was made? And the more it looks like that, the higher prices go, because they are rarer than the ones that have a bit of wear to them. So it's important to always keep that in mind. Because sometimes people will get a plate that's like that one and say, well, gee, I only got $140 for it. And you say, well, send me a picture. And they send the picture, and it's scuffed up. It's got a nick out of the rim. It's got a hairline on the back. And it doesn't seem like that big a deal, but it is a big deal. And it has a heavy impact. And then Ancient Arts over in the Netherlands, he had these nice silver enamel pieces up, and as predicted, they did just fine. This was the bigger of there were a couple of cups. The smaller cup was about half this size and mass, brought about $580 or so, and this one brought $1,006. But as I mentioned last week, Chinese silver with this enameling is highly collected, and I wouldn't have been surprised if this brought double that, to be perfectly honest. Some of these pieces bring a lot of money, and it may have just not quite caught the eye of enough people. And despite that, it still brought $1,000. It was a very nice piece of silver and enamel work. Really nice. And then this dandy little jade, probably 18th century, judging by the work, or early 19th, but nicely carved, nicely polished, sort of a sweet little item here. And this was from J. Garrett's Limited, and we feature his stuff often. He gets some nice things. He's over in London. He had this, and this sold for $956 or 800 pounds. But it was a good little jade. And these aren't big. This is only a few inches tall, probably 2 or 3 inches, 6.5 centimeters. So that works out to just about 3 inches high in the stand. So it's a fairly small jade, but very collectible. People love these. And let's see here, what else? This, he also had, same seller, had this up, this carved agate, there it is, carved crystal shadow agate snuff bottle, 19th century. This was a nice one. I loved the clouds. I loved the way the mountains and the clouds were done on this. Just a great little snuff bottle. It did fine. It brought $490 or 410 pounds. And then over to this, the teapot. I had a few inquiries about this. Because people are wondering, is this a copy or something, or what is this? No, this is a pattern that was used sometimes during the 19th century, second half of the 19th century. You see it most often on chargers and big plates. Seeing it on a teapot is very unusual. And there it is. It's that later Qing type with the flange, with the wire handles and all that. The wires are probably replaced. They usually are. But what was the value in this was the artwork was very meticulous, almost architectural in its work. It looks these look like architectural renderings. They're done so precisely. There is some more of it of the Imperial Palace and so forth in Beijing. But it was very nicely done pot. And we told everybody it's going to bring we thought it would bring $1,500 to $2,000, and it ended up going for $1,575. But a rare bird. This was nice. This was very nice. And over to this big silk panel. There it is. Let's see here. He called this kisi. It's not really kisi. It's silk. It's silk woven. But at any rate, doesn't matter. People throw terms around, I guess. But this one was nice because, one, the colors were very crisp. There was no fading to the reds. The design was very meticulous, as you can see. Just beautifully done. There was a little bit of wear. There was a hole here. But the work otherwise was very, very good, and the colors were strong. And this got a lot of it. This was an early 19th century panel, and there was a lot of interest in it, obviously, and it sold for $9,900. Which is not a big surprise. Again, silk market is strong, and it's remaining strong right through. And then over to this nice little Kangxi period tea caddy. And it's funny thing about this form of tea caddy. These tea caddies used to sell. Those of you who have been collecting for a while will know this. These tea caddies were selling for, and they're not that common, but they do turn up. But this is an unusual one. The way the blue ground was done here in the center with these rosettes over it. These back in the 90s and in the early 2000s, these kinds of little tea caddies were selling for $450 to $600. And for some reason, the market specifically on these seems to have shifted, and I don't know why. And they're selling now for $200 to $300. And this one sold for $207. And the lid was repaired on it. But it doesn't really matter because you can see the old paint repair on this. Because 9 times out of 10, when you get one of these caddies, it doesn't have a lid anymore anyway. So it's sort of a bonus to have anything left of the lid. But the decoration is good, and the fritting wasn't particularly noticeable. Just a little bit on the corner of that shoulder right there. And I think this was a good buy. It was a smart thing to buy. And the other thing that was nice was this 18th century Chinese export salt. This was a nice one. They often turn up in pairs, but this was just a single. But these table salts are fairly rare, very collectible. People who are interested in American furniture and all that sort of thing, doing with the Americana craze and interested in Chinese export, they always have one of these in pairs or one or two on a dining table. They just are one of those accoutrements that collectors just seem to want to have. This was a great buy, $124 for open salt. That also seems to be less than what they used to bring. All right, and then heading over to what's coming up on eBay that'll be on the newsletter page this week. I say it every week. If you're interested in this stuff and you want to see what we pick out for the news, every week we pick out what goes on the newsletter page. We look at each item. We look at all these objects one by one and go through and check out the descriptions and so forth. And our rule about descriptions are, if they date it significantly earlier than it really is, we do not include them on that page. If they've described it conservatively and dated it conservatively, as you know, say it's early, they claim it's early 19th century, but it's actually older than they think it might be, then we do include it, because there are people that will recognize and say, oh, that's a Kangxi piece, not a Qianlong piece, and so it makes a difference. And that includes jades and bronzes and everything else. But if they've dated it a lot earlier, then we don't do it, because it's going to mislead potential buyers. But at any rate, sign up for it here. You sign up here. It's free. Just put in your email address and use any username you want. We don't care, and you'll get a notice when the newsletter page is updated each Friday, or normally we get it done sometime between 5 and 6:30 or so. And we also have the new video, which is this, which will be up there this week. All right, we only did one video this week because I got tied up with a bunch of things. I'm working on right now on 3 different estates, and it's kind of busy around here. We're a little bit crazed. I spent the other day in a warehouse looking at stuff that had been packed away for a while from an old Beverly Farms family. It was nice looking, though. Good looking stuff. All right, now over here to this. Another piece of silk is coming up. This very nice, they called it a cushion cover. This is a really fine one. I think this is going to do pretty well. Very meticulously done. Beautiful fine needlework on this is the best way to describe it. And when you get in here and look at the lotus flowers and so forth, there's a slight softening to some of the reds maybe, but nothing serious. That's the only thing I could see with this. Is the red might have softened up a little, but not much. But overall, it's very nice. There's some pulls down here in the corner, it looks like a couple of condition things in the corner. But overall, this is a very nice piece of silk. It's up to $322. It still has 3 days to go. It closes on Tuesday. If you're interested in things like this, just go in and whack it with a bid right away. I expect this will probably bring $1,000 to $1,500, but we'll see. The size of it is, do they put the size in? Is these one of these guys that doesn't bother with the sizes? God, why do they do that? Drive me crazy. Let me see. There's no tape measure on that page. I'm just trying to get an idea how big it is. There it is. It's on a rug or something, but you can't really see how big it is. I'm going to assume it's around 2 by 3 feet, but he for whatever reason didn't bother with it. When you're doing eBay listings, this is not how you do an eBay listing. All right. He's got no secondary information really filled in. He doesn't provide it. I don't see that he's provided any dimensions for the thing. Oh, there it is in little print. There it is. He did put it in. 44 by 77 centimeters. So it's what does that come out to? About 3.5 feet. Yeah, 3.5 feet by what's that? 2 feet, something like that. But if you're going to do dimensions, make them big, make them bold. Don't use small print. Make it very legible, and make sure you check off all the boxes to satisfy eBay's Cassini program, or they will punish you. You will not be visible. Anyway, this is a nice silk. and expect it to jump up quite a bit at the end, but it's a good looking panel. And then this seller, this is a state wonder out in San Diego, and he's got a bunch of things up. But one of the things, he sometimes has good things, sometimes he doesn't. It's hit or miss. But this is nice, and there are 2 paintings on here. I like these a lot. They're very nicely done. They look to be late Qing, early Republic album paintings. There's a couple of little minor tears in them. But the figures are very nicely placed on both of them. There's another one of a figure sitting at a scholar's table, actually, with a bunch of jade books in front of him. It's rather interesting. Same style of painting, same artist, I'm assuming. It's up to $244. This just went up last night. Expect that it's going to probably bring in the $700 to the $1,000 range, somewhere around there. It's already gotten some interest, but it's nicely done. And the aesthetics are very, very strong in that painting. Very simple, good use of negative space, good colors, good facial details and all that. So expect it to do well. And this is another one. This is from Stubbsy Wubsy, another seller that we follow over in the Essex in the UK. Whittam, Essex, I guess it is in the United Kingdom, is this nice figure of hunters out in the field, or people going out with some script and so forth, but nicely drawn. I think he's got a couple of paintings. It's up to just, what is it, $47, and it closes on Sunday. This seems like there's 2 of these. That's right. It's one of 2 warrior paintings, calligraphy, 19th century. That's all correct. And I don't know why this isn't getting more interest. This is a nice little painting. Really, really is. Should bring $400 or $500. It's got a ways to go. It's got 2 days, maybe. It'll maybe jump up there, but it's a good painting. If you're looking for art, something nice, that would also frame up rather charmingly, because it's got the colophons on the sides, and you could include that within the mat. So have this as a visual package, and a nice frame on it would look elegant, look beautiful. And this robe is up. This is he's erroneously called this an 18th century robe. I mentioned it last week. It's actually a later second half of the 19th century robe, but it's nicely done. This is coming from San Francisco Collector. He's been putting some things up in the last year or so that we've noticed. Pretty good things. He's just off on the dating a little. I'm not knocking the robe at all. It's a nice robe. Should bring $5,000 to $7,000 by the time it's done. And it's up to $1,525. It closes tonight at 10:50 p.m. So if you're interested in that robe, chase it. It's on the newsletter page. And then this is something from Miguel Arias. He's got up. It's a nice Femi-Vert baluster vase from, he's dating it to about 1840. It's certainly 19th century. So he thinks that he's pretty knowledgeable, and he believes this is an 1840s example, which it could be. Could be from 1850 too. Let's not, you can't commit to too much. But he generally does a really good job with his descriptions. It's 15 inches tall, so it's not a small 7 or 8 inch tall vase. It's a pretty good sized jar, and it's up to $148. It closes Sunday. You should see this up finishing up between $8 and $1,100, somewhere in there, or $900 to $1,200. It's a good jar. And I think it's in good shape from what I remember looking at it. I like the patterns. I like the repeat pattern on it. And I like the way they did the faces, the people in the court scene. It's very nice. So if you're interested in that, give it a shot. And then there's the Rockefeller plate. This closes on Monday. This is Juice 1499 has this. It's up to $1,000. We've seen a few Rockefeller plates come up in the market lately. They've all done well. This is a platter, but it's not a big one, as I recall. Wasn't it like 8 inches or 9 inches? 8.2 inches across. It's a smaller one, but it's a nice one, though. That's the thing that's good about it. And as we've said on all of these, always check out the cavetto around the outside of this outer edge. See how much gilding is left. Sometimes we saw one a few months ago that was almost 80% of it was gone. Plate still did pretty well, and this plate will do well too. This will probably bring $2,000 or $3,000 by the time it's done. It's up to $1,000 now. It's a nice piece though. And he also has this up. Now this is curious. He has one of these up, and there's another one that was over on Live Auctioneers that was on the global page. It was fairly similar. One of these early. They have this dated as Young Chen. It's not a Young Chen dish. That's a first half of the or first half of the 19th century or so foot rim. All right. There's a tendency, because the pattern is very similar to what you see on Yongchen and early Qinlong ruby backs. And that's what they sort of linked them to, and they assume that if it has this reddish back on it, they're all ruby back plates, and it's more than just having a red back that makes them ruby backs. But at any rate, there's a whole debate about it actually. Anyway, there's 2 of these available right now. One of them is over on Live Auctioneers. I don't think it's closed yet, and this one closes on Monday. It is a nice one. This one is a very good central decoration. I love the lady sitting here with the kid. They got a little table outside, a nice setting. Sort of one of those idyllic Chinese scenes, and it's up to $127. It closes Monday. Expect it to get up in the probably the $500 to $700 range. But it's a nice early 19th century, early to mid 19th century piece, to be safe. And then the pistol-handled urn. This is a very nice one, gilded all the way or up and down, with a faux bois wooden base at the bottom. They make it look like wood grain. That's all worked into the porcelain. Very clever. And the decoration on this is nice. This really stands out. And it's those gutsy big gold handles on top that sort of draw you into the whole piece. I like this a lot. It's a nice thing. And right now it's up to $550. It'll probably go for $1,800 to $2,500 by the time it's done. These are very, very nice. I've always liked those big urns. And it measures, it's 13 or 14 inches tall. It's pretty big. And then there's the 2 bow pots with cover, rose mandarin decoration with gilded relief work. And the gilding on it looks to be very good. If you take a good look at these and blow them up, you'll notice there's not a lot of wear to the gilding. They're in very, very fine condition, and that's going to help them. And they look to be in good shape all the way around. The bottoms look good. These are nice. This is a nice pair of bow parts. If they're worn and the gilding is rubbed down on them, they typically bring $2,000 or $3,000. These are extremely fine, and to my mind, they're probably worth $1,500 to $1,800, $1,500 to $2,000 each. So I'm thinking $3,500 to $4,000 for the pair. They may bring less, but that's what I would think you'd be willing to pay for them, because the condition, again, we get back to that condition thing, pre-1850 and in very good condition, very nice decoration, intact. And also is this a very unusual. This is another thing that Josh. He must have gotten into a collection of rose mandarin, because he has a really unusual cut corner bowl. This is not the kind that normally cut corner bowls are in different patterns than this. This is a purely very vibrant rose mandarin pattern, made around 1830 or 40, but very strongly enameled and in pristine condition. Again, condition. And if you look at this with any for just a few minutes, you'll recognize that the gilding on the rim is not worn. There's no wear in here. There's no chipping to the enamels. The porcelain is nice and white, very clean and crisp around the inside. This is a gem of a bowl. Really like this a lot. I like the blue enamels here with the bats, cash symbols with gilded, and so forth. They're just a very fine example, and it is probably about 9 inches or so in diameter, I guess, somewhere around there. 10 inches across. There we go, at the widest point. There you are. All right, and it is up to $665. Expect it to get up to $1,000 to $1,500, I bet, with that pattern. It's not the form that's so rare. If this was sort of a standard Chinese Fitzhugh export cut corner bowl, it would be worth about what it's going for right now, $500 to $600, $600 to $700, somewhere around there. But this one, the enamels are so good, and the decoration is so atypical. It's not the standard decoration you see on these. There are no cartouches. It's all open work, all done in the round. It's a good thing. And then this is also back to Migolari, is this very nice cafe au lait and underglazed blue bowl. This is a very, very nice one. And I looked at this last week, and I think this looks like a Kangxi example to me. With that foot rim. You can look at it and come up with your own decision, but this very much looks like a Kangxi period foot rim. And what is it up to right now? It is up to just $161. It closes Sunday, and it is, what size is this thing? 8 inches or so. It is, yeah, it's about nine or so inches in diameter. So it should at the end of the day, as a Kangxi example, it should get up to $800 to $1,000. If it doesn't, you got a good buy. A lot of people are going to look at this and just think it's a regular sort of later Qinlong example. It's not. It's not. This looks like an older one to me, and I like it a lot. All right, and then other things that happened during the week, not on eBay, was Wheeling-Huis-Jaeger had their sale. They've come off the page already, but the auction was pretty good. But what I'm going to suggest is if there was something in that sale that you looked at that you didn't bid on, it's the same with all auctions. They had a number of buy-ins because of the reluctance by some to bid in the Netherlands, if you're in the U.S. in particular. Not because there's anything wrong with bidding. It's just that it's a little bit of a nuisance if they don't offer in-house shipping on everything to even bother buying with them. But at any rate, there are a number of lots that didn't sell, and this is a good time to go in and try to make some post-auction offers. And post-auction offers sometimes will get you the best deal you've ever gotten, or you've gotten in recent history on Chinese porcelain or Chinese art or any art that's in demand. If it doesn't sell, the auction house wants to move it. They want to pay off the consignor. They don't want to store it. They don't want to relist it because then they could go through the whole thing all over again with reserves and whatnot. And sometimes if you have a seller who's had a lot of things in an auction and overall he did very well, he's going to be perfect. He or she will be perfectly fine with, if there's a couple of pieces that didn't make it through, they'll go, sell it, just get rid of it. And that often happens. So as I said a few weeks ago, check over auctions that you've been following and check out the unsold items. Maybe reach out to them and say, hey, if you still have that, are you accepting offers? And most auction houses do. Most auctions are open to that kind of situation because they're there to sell the thing, take a commission, and make some money. And if it BIs, doesn't sell, many auction houses don't make a dime on it. They've just wasted their money. So they're happy to recoup something if they can. And there were some good results. There was overall a good sale. And then there was a set art auction house over in, these guys are in Spain, I believe, or Portugal. Had a good sale with a number of Chinese pieces in it. Some of the dating was off a bit. They dated these plates as being Ming Dynasty, clearly their Kangxi period, and all that. But it was a nice collection. I'm not going to knock it. And this plate brought $3,400, but it's a very unusual plate. We mentioned it, I think, in the weekly Global Members video. This is a very unusual pattern. With the bannermen and the horsemen, but I like this a lot, and it was good size, and it ended up selling for what did it end up going for? $3,600 plus premium. So you're up around $5,000 for the plate, and it is good size. It was 37 centimeters in diameter, so it was about 15 and a half, 16 inches wide. Nice piece of porcelain. All right, and it went over the estimate, but I thought the estimate was kind of low on it. And then there was this plate, which we talked about last week, a very nice example. It came from the Saving Edwards, it's the winged spur shield commemorating former Johnstone, known for saving King Edward's life. And this plate, this was extremely fine. There's that certain class of Chinese export blue and white wares that was done early in the Qinlong period that just has breathtaking detail. And the details on this plate, if you come over and take a look at it and just see how well done, this diaper pattern almost looks mechanical the way it was done. It's so refined. It's so incredibly refined. And as are all the flowers. I thought this was very, very nice. They date it to about 1755, 38 centimeters in diameter. Sold for $2,400 plus premium, so around $3,200 US, something like that. But heck of a thing. And then there was another Kangxi plate here that I think they dated this as Ming, Wan Li. I don't know why. It's pretty obvious what it is. But they got confused on it. It's even got a Kangxi mark on the back. But it definitely appears to be a Kangxi example also. It doesn't look like a later copy. And it did very well. It sold for $4,400 plus premium. So again, you're up around $5,500 to $6,000 for this plate. But a very lovely example, and the condition on all their stuff was very, very good. So it is worth checking out those sales. But as always, you have to take into account the shipping and so forth. I encourage people to buy from auction houses that provide shipping on small stuff that's reasonable to ship. If you buy a big piece of furniture, auction houses generally aren't set up to do that kind of shipping, but they'll coordinate it with a mover. But small things, plates, porcelains, vases, jades, little bronzes, scrolls, all that stuff, the auction house should provide the shipping for that. And it will encourage bidders, because bidders don't want to have to, if you're in the U.S., you don't want to have to go out and, rooting around in the Netherlands or Italy or Spain or France or someplace, or Bruges, trying to find a shipper. So you would definitely want to go to, pay attention to the auction houses that do provide shipping. And it'll say so right down here at the bottom. They'll say in-house shipping provided by, by the auction house, that kind of thing. All right. That's about it for the week. It's been a good week. There's a lot going on, and we got some big sales coming up. I spoke to Rick Cervantes at Doyle's this week, and they've got some pretty nice pieces. They have a very nice Chin Lung ewer. He's pretty excited about. That was originally bought from C.T. Liu, and some other he's got some good things also. So you want to definitely check out Doyle's. Their sale isn't up online yet. It's going up, I think, toward the end of next week or so. I know they're busily cataloging it and so forth, but it's just the first week of March, so they're in good shape. And that's about it. So thanks for watching. Subscribe, leave a comment if you haven't. We'd love to see thumbs ups. It helps us in the algorithms, and it helps us if you subscribe. So please do. And have a wonderful weekend. It is going to be snowing here again, I guess. It's 34 degrees and bright sun today and no wind on the ocean, but it's coming. And just as a little heads up, I will be going away for a few weeks at the end of this month, around the 20th, the 22nd or so. My wife and I are going down to Central America, to Belize, to a place that we like, and we've been there before, and we're going to spend a few weeks there, a couple of weeks. I will bring the laptop, and we'll probably do a video or two from there, but we won't be doing the identification stuff, or the identification assistant and the auction inquiry assistant and all that. That'll be shut down while I'm gone, because we get so many of them. I don't want to spend my vacation sitting in front of a laptop. We'll do some videos and things down there, maybe. That'll be fun. But I want to spend some time on the beach. I got a stack of books I want to read, and get caught up on things. So that's where we'll be heading out, down into Placencia. All right. Have a wonderful week, and see you all next week. Okay. Bye-bye.